There you go. Anyway, we're here to talk about one of your recent projects that's coming out from Dynamite, because apparently Declan Shelby needed a day off and decided to kind of give you the reins, or maybe
he's just lazy. He's just lazy. Yeah. Travis, he thinks he wants people to think he works hard, but it's all smoke and mirrors.
Well, I've had him on the show, and he actually told me when he got this job, he said he was drunk when they offered it to him. And he woke up the next day, and he's like, I think I just accepted a deal to do Thundercats. But Thundercats #5, that's kind of your bread and butter. That's coming up here pretty soon. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I believe it's a kind of a standalone story about the Thundercat lady.
Yeah, it's a Chitara centric story. When it was pitched to me, Nate Cosby is our editor on Thundercats. So once Dec had got started with Drew Moss, the amazing series artist, and they realized that the people were really digging this book and it was selling gang loads. So Nate, naturally enough, was like, well, let's see what else we can do with it. So he had said to me, he had asked me would I be interested in doing a one shot, a Chitara one shot, which I was up for because I was waiting on script for my other book, which is ongoing at the minute, a book with Kurt Busiek and Fabian Nicieza. So I had a little break, and I said, well, I might as well, if I can write and draw it, because I'm actually, like the lads, I'm a Thundercats fan, like all the people now my age, 40, whatever. Like, so I was a big Thundercats, especially a Chitara fan in my prepubescent days back in the 80s. So yeah, I mean, it was 5 or 6 weeks work, and I had the time handy, and I know Nate well, and obviously I know Declan well. So yeah, I just jumped on it, and a one and done is always nice. Get in, scratch the itch for 20 odd pages, and get out the door, and hopefully don't wreck the place while you're there.
Yeah. So this book, was it originally planning on to be part of the series, like #5, or was it planning on being like a standalone one shot book, like it came out separately?
Very initially, it was talked about it as being a one shot, but the story hadn't been talked about at all. So it wasn't a way we didn't have to compromise and somehow shoehorn the story into the ongoing or anything. It was just the fact that I was going to do this one issue's worth of Thundercats that would focus on Chitara. So then when they saw that the book was doing really well and they realized they could give Drew and Dec a break for one issue, then they just kind of folded that into the main book, and it happened pretty organically. Declan obviously Declan had a hand in because I guess you'd call him the showrunner or whatever on this book. It's his baby. So obviously I did write the script, but I ran it all by Declan and Nate as well. So it was a very coordinated effort. So it fits exactly. I took it from where he's left issue 4 and where he goes with issue 6. So it's very much part of the overall story. So I think people who are reading the book should enjoy it. And it fits very well, I think, into the narrative. Yeah.
So let me ask you, if this book comes out and it's received extremely well, and people are like, man, this issue #5 really is a lot better than 1 through 4.
Definitely going to happen. Definitely. I mean, there's no doubts.
Declan get the call and say, hey, buddy, thanks, but we're good. Is that kind of
me pushing Dec off a cliff? Is that what you mean? 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I would do it. No. I mean, obviously, it's Declan's thing, and it's just the fact that I had the time to do that. I don't foresee there being. For me, it was just get in, surgical strike, have a great time. I got to do stuff with all the main cats, little bits and pieces, mostly Chitara, obviously. So I feel like I've done my bit now, and it's back Declan and Drew, and they don't need me anyway. Like, they're doing such a good job. And I know Drew is probably annoyed that anyone has to draw him except him. He probably didn't even want the break. He probably just wanted to just plow on through. If it was me and it was my book, I'd be like, well, we don't need this guy blowing in. So no, this is it for me, I'd say. Unless, I mean, who knows? But for the minute, yeah.
Yeah. So on this book, you're the writer and artist as well. Yeah. Do you like having that control of both? I mean, obviously, if you're an artist, you're sitting there and you get the story and you kind of go from there. If you're a writer, you write the story, then you see the artwork. Now you have full control. You're doing both. Is that something a little bit more special when you get the hands on both the reins?
Yeah, for me, and I imagine for Declan, it's probably the same. I write most of my own stuff now. I'm writing my 3rd series of Rocketeer over at IDW, and I'm writing another book for a different artist at another publisher. So unless it's a writer at these days that I really want to work with, like for instance, Kurt Busiek, like say on this image book that we're kind of have coming out, then I'm like, I'll happily be the artist, I guess, be the art guy. But generally speaking, I'm less interested these days if I can't write it myself, because I've drawn so many comics now and I've worked with tons of people that I feel like I can do a decent job myself at this point, and it does make it more interesting when you have control. There's that immediacy between the script and the art, and I mean it's different strokes for different folks. Like, I mean, you could ask Declan the same question, he might give you a different answer, because obviously he's handing scripts off to Drew on this one, and he's drawing covers, but he's not doing the interiors, so it's different. But it's just the way I operate now. I did this book, Half Past Danger, about 10 years ago. It's an ongoing creator-owned thing that I do, and ever since that one, I've really wanted more hands-on, hold the reins myself, you know. So that is why, and to be honest with you, that's one of the big attractions, was the fact that I was going to be writing and drawing this and crafting my own tale with Declan on board as well. So that was the attraction to do this. I don't think, like, if I was just coming on to draw a Declan script, I'd have told him to go jump, you know.
Yeah. Well, you just brought it up, so I'm just gonna jump around a little bit. So Half Past Danger, your title, is that kind of your love letter to comics?
100%, yeah. Comics, matinee, Sunday matinee serials, Spielberg movies. It's my love letter to being a kid. Just being that 80s kid with all those action adventure, daring do kind of roller coaster rides. You know, Goonies, Indiana Jones, all that's the stuff I grew up on. So it's centered on around that, and it's why I enjoy it so much. And the fact that thankfully it was successful enough. And we just had a movie adaptation announced as well, which is amazing. Like, and I'll be working on that in a creative capacity as well. So that's like, you know, that's kind of the nerd dream to an extent, where you get your own project, which kind of it didn't start off as a joke concept, but it started off as something I didn't know people would go for. Let's just say it was a real shot in the dark, and it was the first time I'd scripted a book. It was about 11 or 12 years ago. So yeah, it's the dream one for me, and I'm still mad to do more of it. But the fact is, I mean, I don't know if you've done creator-owned books yourself, but you've got gigs from Marvel or DC or Dynamite or whoever it may be, and they pay one level of money, but then you've got your own creator-owned book, which is that much more fulfilling, let's say, creatively, but it might not pay the bills or the mortgage the way that the stuff from Marvel does, or Dynamite or DC or whoever it may be. So you've always got that balancing act, you know.
Yeah.
But things like Thundercats, like the fact that I say I've got this issue, like, that's great. You know, you can hop into that sandbox and just go bang, 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 play with him, play with her, and you're out, you know, and hopefully you've done a good job, and you leave it to the professionals, and you just walk out the door, you know. That's the plan anyway. Hopefully it's well received.
It sounds like Half Past Danger has more stories to be told that's in your mind.
Oh, 100%, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Jump back to Thundercats really quick. So Thundercats in general, were you a fan of this great comic book, or not comic book, but animated series growing up? Because I know I was. It was
big time.
That one, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Hey,
Smurfs was in well. I mean, there's a big list of them, like all those classic 80s ones. I definitely was. I saw them all multiple times. I grew up on that stuff, but like the characters, you know, it's that kind of like, it's that sci-fi mixed with fantasy that Thundercats had going on. Like, they have vehicles like the Thunder Tank or the Lair or their ship. It's actually hard sci-fi, but then they land on this planet. It's swords, it's shields, it's magic. It's like, so it had this lovely marriage of different kind of tropes going on, and then you got this weird furry culture thing going on where these are anthropomorphic animals. You don't think about that when you're a kid, but you know, it's there.
Yeah.
I remember like wondering why Chitara didn't have clothes at the time on the spaceship. I'm sure we all had that thought. She had to have clothes in my issue, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I loved it as a kid, and even the comic. You mentioned the comic. I think there's just enough. Like, I mean, I always read Declan stuff, and he always reads mine. We kind of check each other's stuff, just like an editorial pass almost. And I was reading the first couple of scripts, and I thought he had just injected the right amount of new into it and kept whatever it is, 65% classic. But then you've got the likes of Calica and things coming in, which are shaking it up a little bit. So it's a really engaging mix, I think, and it's I can see why it's popular. I think it's really. And Drew was doing such a good job, but they've really struck something there. Just that kind of weird, ephemeral sweet spot where it's like it just happens sometimes, and people respond, and the book goes great, and then you got to try and keep that going, keep the quality level up, and you know yourself. I mean, it can hopefully go from there. See how long it lasts.
It's kind of like a perfect storm right now with the stuff that we used to look at the 80s, like with Transformers and G.I. Joe and Thundercats, and then also Space Ghost is coming out and stuff like that. So it's really neat to see all those titles and surge. Like, they're doing really well. I mean, they're just knocking it out of the park. You know, before they brought those out, and they've had their little audiences and stuff like that. But right now, it just kind of seems like that's where you want to be. Like Gargoyles is another one from Dynamite that just kind of boom, there it is. It's big again. So, I mean, is there anything else out there that you're like, oh, I hope they do that? You know, because that was one of my childhood awesome times and stuff. Like I said, I was a big Smurf fan. Smurfs was that show.
Yeah, they were great. I remember them, and the Gummy Bears were two big ones. I was a big Mask kid. And you know, Strike Command. I think IDW. I know they have the Hasbro stuff, and I feel like they did a book at one stage. Maybe I don't know. It didn't hit, but it's like you say, the time frame for whatever reason in the last couple of years. And I give some credit to the Energon guys. I think with Danny Warren John. I think Transformers might have kicked something off there where this 80s nostalgia has just suddenly really hit big again. And the fact that that book and this Thundercats book, I think the fact and the upcoming the Space Ghost one, looks like they're really trying to do a legitimately good job, which I think counts for more than people realize. You get some of these spin-off books and they're just thrown together. You know, it's just we have to keep the license under our banner. So let's throw out whatever miniseries, you know, Thundercats meets, like, I don't know, Casper the Friendly Ghost or something, and it's just people are just like, this isn't the real deal. But these books in the last couple of years, they seem like the real deal. So long may it continue, I think. And it's bringing people, like you say, into the stores, which can only be a good thing. It's great.
Yeah, because it's hitting the right time, you know, and you know, I've collected comics for a very long time, and seeing these out again, just seeing like they're the top books on the shelves right now, where they used to not be the top books on the shelf. They were always coming out, but just, you know, like a very smaller audience, and now that it's just surging. So it's really cool to see this happening right now, especially for these titles, because honestly, I think there's a little bit of superhero fatigue in the market as far as like Marvel and DC type stuff. Still a fan, but we just need something a little bit different, and this is kind of doing it for us right now. So it's a really, really awesome thing. Your history with Dynamite goes back quite a ways. You've been with them for a while. I mean, you've worked on Betty Page and James Bond.
Yeah, James Bond. I wrote a few Sheena stories series. I wrote a few Betty Page. They were more as a writer. I was the artist on Bond. That was with Nate Cosby as well. Back when they originally launched this run, it was me and Mark Laming was the other main guy at the first couple of arcs where Greg Pak was writing the book. I'm a big James Bond guy again, like, so it's one of those. It's just one of those things, you know, those childhood things where you get to kind of hop in there for a few issues and show your take. Yeah.
So who's your favorite James Bond actor?
Oh, Connery by a distance.
Yeah.
By a distance. I mean, I like them all.
Yeah.
But From Russia with Love is probably my favorite overall. I'm a big fan of the first Brosnan one, Goldeneye, and the first Craig one, Casino Royale. Both Martin Campbell directed, which is probably, but I think they're both great. I didn't really, the rest of them I felt like were not as good, but Skyfall was good, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Connery all the way. And there's a few more in there, like Dalton, I like Lazenby. I like them all.
Yeah.
But I mean, the OG is definitely Connery. You know, just I don't think you can beat that.
Who do you think should play the next Bond?
Oh, if I could pick anybody, I think Tom Hardy would be good. I think Idris Elba would be good. But I think they might both. I think they're skewing young, is what I hear. I don't know if those kind of guys are in with a shout. I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be somebody younger. I'd be interested to see an American play the role and see if they could do it, you know, because there's so many Brits playing American roles in half the movies you see nowadays. It'd be interesting to see if somebody could do Bond who wasn't European or even British. Like, that'd be. I don't know who younger. Who do you think? I don't know.
But definitely not The Rock. It could.
No. Please, not The Rock. It's like the anti-Bond.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing a little bit of research on you before we came on here, and I saw you said one of your influences was Dave Stevens.
Oh yeah.
What was some of the first works that you saw of his that kind of really sparked it for you?
Oh, it was The Rocketeer. It was that Rocketeer blew me away. I don't think I wasn't. I don't think I was buying it originally when it was like early 90s, 93, 94, I think. I don't know, it was even pre that. I don't know the first issue came out originally, but it was the first collection that I got when I was about 16, I'd say. And I just, the character design and the artwork, like I didn't, even before I'd read it, and then all the gorgeous kind of that Art Deco style, that kind of Americana through the filmic lens, like I don't know if it ever really existed in that, where it looked like that, but it's so romantically done that I just hope like that's what it looked like in the 30s and 40s in New York and LA and Sunset Boulevard and all that stuff. But just the style was amazing, and I just got into Dave Stevens from there. And then I leaned so hard into all that kind of 1940s matinee serial style stuff myself that I mean, Half Past Danger is purely in the same vein as Rocketeer, which is probably what got me the gig on Rocketeer.
Yeah.
Back with Scott Dunbier, the 3 series ago, that I seem to have done well. So it's at the weird point now where I've written more Rocketeer than Dave Stevens has, which is it's just wrong.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be allowed. I don't know. I mean, I'll do it, but I love that stuff, and I feel like I can do a decent job on it. So I'm always confident on those kind of books. Like I feel it in my bones how to do those pulpy stories, but the artwork is gorgeous. The inking is beautiful. Like it's that style. There's a lot of his stuff in mine, not as good, but a lot of that DNA in my own art.
So speaking of some of your influences, so what's your comic book background as far as what got you into it? What was like, oh, I saw that, and that's me. That's what I want to do. Is there a certain moment in time when you realize, oh, okay, this is the path I'm going to take? I mean, were you just a kid like I was, just collecting comics off the rack? I know comics back then, where you were at, were a little bit different than what we had here in the States.
Yeah.
But can you remember like the first time you saw an X-Men title or something like that? Because for me,
That's it. Yeah, it's the classic. It's the X-Men. It's the Jim Lee thing. I did grow up on Tintin or Tintin. The Belgian is a big European comic, which is huge, and Asterix is French. They were the 2 big ones in my local library. And even before, you're at the age when you're maybe 6 or 7 and you're in the library and you're like, oh, these books have loads of pictures in them. I gravitate towards that without realizing it's a comic book. You just think it's a book with loads of illustrations. And I started reading those, I'd say about 6 years old. And then Calvin and Hobbes was a massive one for me when I was about 9 or 10. That hit me like a ton of bricks. In fact, it's probably my favorite. I don't know if you can call it a comic book, but it's the same it's a strip, it's the same stuff. So that'd be my favorite comic of all time, probably. The artwork again is incredible. His lush inkwork is another big influence on me, Bill Watterson. But American comics, it was Jim Lee on X-Men that just hit me like a truck. Like so many guys my age, my friend was collecting them because I didn't collect comics American comics when I was 12, and the guy down the road just showed me these books where all like everyone was so heroic and the women were all incredible and this massive villain in Magneto, like, and it was like uncanny 280 or 270. I don't know what it was, around 275, and the big massive gatefold bone is like all that stuff blew me away. And I'm still like, I mean, I've got, you see the door poster over there on the wall. That's the one from X-Men 1. Like, so I'm still, that stuff for me was really formative and influenced me huge. And then I started taking notice of American superheroes and all the X titles and Marvel, and then obviously Batman at DC was another huge one. My brother was a big Batman guy, so he bought all the Batman stuff and I read that, and I bought all the X-Men stuff and he read that, and we kind of traded with each other as we grew older. But yeah, X-Men, I mean, not so much these days. I'm not sure what's even going on. It's so convoluted in places. I know they've got this big reboot coming, so I might check that out.
Another reboot?
Yeah. Which one? I know.
It seems to happen quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. Although I enjoyed the Hickman stuff, I have to say. I thought that was great. The first time I was buying X-Men monthly in a long time was when the Hickman stuff. Yeah. So that was nice to see. But I mean, I'm a bit like yourself, like the superhero thing, whether it's just aging out of it or just having a little bit of fatigue between the movies and the comics and things. But I'm glad that leaves the stage open for some fresher stuff, like Thundercats and the 80s stuff, and then Half Past Danger, like that kind of niche stuff seems to be given more shelf space, which I am all for. X-Men will always be there, Batman will always be there, Spider-Man will always be there. So yeah, but to answer your question, it was X-Men in the early 90s. Yeah.
Nice. So I know that you've worked on a ton of projects throughout the years. and crossed a lot of things off your list as far as things you've wanted to do. Is there anything left on your bucket list as far as characters you want to get your hands on? I know that list is getting smaller every year. So, well, what's left for you to like, man, someday I get to do this?
Well, I guess at Marvel, I'd love to do a period Cap story, like a Captain America. I know tons of people would love to do it, but like a World War II Cap story or something like that. I'd love to do that. Yeah. Like Uncanny, whatever, what was it, 2-4 or 2, whatever the Captain America Wolverine issue on the Jim Lee one, that blew me away, that issue. Like, I love that stuff. I love to write period Cap. I mean, DC, Batman's always, I've done a little bit of, I was at the Bat Office for 2 years. I was on a Grayson and some Catwoman stuff and a few other bits and pieces, Midnighter, but I'd love to, I mean, I forget in the queue though, how many people are looking to do some Batman stuff, you know, it's just the classic thing. But I mean, again, like you say, the list is getting smaller. The older I get and the more I realize that people are actually picking up some of the stuff I do myself, I'm like, well, you know, this is way more fulfilling. And I can be one of 50 guys to do a Batman story, or I can be the one guy who can do this particular story. And that's really exciting to me. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have that in me. Like, I don't think you ever grow out of like X-Men or Batman or whatever the case may be, Thundercats, like little things that come up here and there. You're like, oh, great, yeah. But the list is getting a lot smaller. I mean, I'm struggling to think. Cyclops and the X-Men, I'd love to do something with him. Still a big fan of Catwoman, but not a huge amount. Why? What are your go-tos if you were picking?
Spawn.
Oh yeah, Spawn.
Yeah, Spawn. Sure, I got very lucky.
Is writing Spawn right now. Rory, another Irishman with Todd. Yeah. Sorry, go on, interrupt you.
The Irish scene for comics there's a lot of creators there. I was looking into that. I mean, it's kind of popping, so it's kind of neat to see, you know, so many creators in that part of the world to where now it's global, so people get to experience, you know, some of these stories and artwork coming out there. So it's kind of cool. It's
great. Yeah, it's like so many things, like movies or sports or anything. Like, for such a small country, we seem to be bloody everywhere. Like, I don't know what it is. And the storytelling thing is in our bones over here, like the land of saints and scholars, or whatever you want to say. We're all such mouthpieces. Like, I never shut up. Declan never shuts up. We're all like that. I'm sure you've experienced with Declan yourself.
Yeah.
We all have a lot to say. And when it comes to storytelling, I think we're kind of naturals at that. So I don't think it's a surprise. It's just honestly, it's just seeing that other people doing it. Like when Declan or myself started doing it and getting in with the big publishers in the States, a lot of people over here realized it was a viable avenue for them, because you don't consider it's just pie in the sky. When you're a kid, you're like, well, I'm never going to be the person to do that. Someone else in America will do that, or you know, wherever else. So once they started seeing our generation of people do it, guys and girls, now there's a groundswell over here of people coming up behind us, which is great to see. Yeah.
So how cool is it to be a comic book creator? I mean, are you like a rock star walking down the street?
Yeah, you know, comic book creator, you know the answer. If there's a Z-list celebrity, that's us. If there's as far down the list, you can, like, you get invited to. I remember when I was at DC, I got invited to the premieres and things, but then you're way up in the nosebleed seats behind all the real famous people. So it's like famous adjacent, as I'm sure you know. Like, it's fine. Like, you know what I mean? It's not glamorous. I wouldn't say that. It's cool conventions though, where you like when you can pretend you're famous and you can have a queue in front of your table and chat with people who are readers of your books and all. Like, I mean, listen, I'd rather do that than be punching numbers somewhere in the civil service or whatever and get a real job, like a proper grown up, you know. Yeah. But then you grow up and you have a couple of kids and you get a mortgage and you realize, okay, comic books is not the greatest paying job in the world. When practicalities like that enter your life, it's like, oh, okay, I might have to figure out how this really works, you know.
Yeah, I've told my mom, I go, people only know me in comic book stores and comic conventions. I go, outside of that,
same,
no clue who I am. So, same. But it's kind of nice. It's kind of like our secret identity.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's a niche kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask you a couple random questions real quick, and this one's actually for my daughter. So were you an animator for Powerpuff Girls?
Very close, very close. I was on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which was Craig McCracken's show after Powerpuff Girls.
Okay.
The studio was involved on the tail end of Powerpuff Girls, but we were mostly on the next show.
Okay.
But I mean, the resources are good. If she asked that question, I don't know how she knew that. Yeah, I did animation in college. That was because there's no dedicated comics course in Ireland, and the Kubert School in America would like cost a huge amount of money. Like, so there's not a chance. So it was what I had to figure out what was the closest thing to comics, which animation really. You draw all day and you learn storytelling and layout and life drawing and things. So I did that in college with no intention of ever being an animator. But then while I was hawking my portfolio around for the first couple of years, I worked in animation until I could get the comics work. Yeah, so I was very, very nearly on Powerpuff Girls, but no.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let her know. It'll kind of, that's kind of
is another great show. She probably liked that one as well, I'd say.
Yeah. Here's another random question. If you don't know the answer to this, that's totally fine.
I'll make it up if I don't.
Okay, because this just came to my attention. Do you know what a bog body is? What is that? You must know what it is. So what
I do actually know. I don't even have to lie. A bog body. It's a body that's been the bogs over here. They're peat bogs. It's like it's turf. It's a type of earth that you burn for fuel. I assume it's infused with oils and other sort of fossil fuels over here. But the bog bodies are bodies that have been preserved in the turf. Like in a criminal scenario, maybe they were buried there. So the bog is like a moor, as you would call it in England, or I don't know what you'd call it in the States, or if they have the equivalent in the States. But yeah, they're bodies that are preserved in a way, like the bodies from Pompeii, say the lava has preserved bodies in a kind of a husking figure, like similar to that, but browner.
Yeah.
Muckier.
Yeah.
More Irish. Yeah, that's the book you're referring to, I assume. Yeah.
I got a picture of one of those sent to me last week. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it's kind of grisly looking.
Yeah, it's not the kind of thing. Do they make butter in the bog?
Well, the cows would graze on the bogs, I guess. Okay. I don't know, actually. I've never. Very possibly. You could be eating that body juice, yeah.
Body juice.
It up. Yeah, get it into you. It's good for you.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome.
It's protein, right?
It's something, all right. I'll pass on that one. We're going to wrap it up here, but let's get back to Thundercats number 5, because that's the next book that's coming out. That's kind of what brought us here today. You already mentioned it a little bit. Is there anything more you want to let people know about this standalone story?
Am I allowed to swear on this, or should I keep it clean?
Yeah, go ahead. Well,
Chitara kicks the shit out of Lionel, I can tell you that. Like,
nice.
She takes him downtown. Oh boy. He needs it though. He needs it. It's all about like the fact that Lionel is basically a young teenager or tweenager almost.
Yeah.
And he's in this massive body as he ages up. So like, I mean, you're a guy, I'm a guy. At 12, 13 years old, we knew absolutely nothing. You think you know everything, but you know absolutely nothing about the world. So it's about kind of knocking him down a peg or two to build him back up and to show him how the world really works a little bit. It's a bit of tough love from Chitara in this issue. So it's I had a lot of fun doing it because I felt like he needed a couple of licks, you know.
Nice.
But he comes out for the better at the end of it. He's better off. A few bruises. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I have Thundercats. I've got the first 3 issues right now. And so issue 4 is next, and issue 5 is yours. That's the one that'll be out. And probably
and Declan and Drew obviously are the main guys. Let's just get that out there. They're the boys who are taking the book home, and Nate. So I'm just a visitor, just for 5 minutes.
Do you know the street date for issue 5? Has that been confirmed?
No, yet? I assume it's June at some sort, I think, but I don't know the exact date. I don't know if it's been. Oh, it has been solicited, but I should know that, but I don't. So
I'll put it up on the screen when we're talking about it.
Professionals like yourself, you know how to do that. I'm just a chancer. I don't know what I'm doing.
There you go. Well, Stephen, before we go, is there anything you want people to know about you, or you're doing any cons or anything like that?
The next show I probably do I assume it will actually be the Dublin show, the big Irish show in August, and then I'll probably be at New York. I usually do New York in October.
Nice.
Maybe Thought Bubble in Leeds in England in November. That's only 50-50. I don't know. That's a great show. I like to go if I can. Other than that, no. Just new Rocketeer series will be out in the summer. Thundercats 5 will be out in the summer. New Image book, Free Agents, with Kurt Busiek and Fabian Nicieza, also out in the summer. Big summer for me. And then hopefully after that, more Half Past Danger stuff is what is the hope anyway. So, but I appreciate you having me on. Anyway, it's good fun chatting to you.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
Pick up Thundercats. Let's beat the drum a little bit for that. It's genuinely a good book, so it's not hard to. We don't have to go through gritted teeth for this one.
Yeah,
you know, it's actually good. So people should pick it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out Thundercats #5. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Live your best life.